Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode on Solving the People Puzzle, where we bring you practical tips, tools and techniques on a weekly basis to help you with your employees. And today I am welcoming back into the studio in person, Sarah Rice. Sarah and I had our first episode a couple of months ago where we spoke about culture and leadership behavior. And today we discussed EVP brand building and how to create talent pools, but in a different way. So in this episode, you can expect Sarah sharing some golden nuggets around really practical things that we can do differently in order to successfully build talent pools. Sit back, relax, and if you love this episode and you follow the show, please like, share, subscribe, share it with friends, colleagues, anybody that you think can find value from it. Cheers. Sarah Rice, welcome back to Solving the People Puzzle. The last time we had our pod, it was online. And it was not in Cape Town. It's so good to be here with you in person. Thank you so much for being back. How are you?
I'm doing really well, and thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Since the last time we spoke, some changes in your life you want to share with the audience and followers?
Yeah, some unexpected changes. So I have left the permanent. I've left permanent employment, which is exciting and terrifying. And I have started consulting in the people up space. Skynamo, my previous company, was my first client. I now have some others, which is exciting.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, just focusing really on how do you operationalize culture.
Wow.
Is the main focus.
And I very vividly remember our first conversation we had was around culture and behavioral indicators and how to operationalize that. And geez, I enjoyed that conversation so much. Since then, I've been in so many conversations around this concept of talent pool creation. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain this morning. And I guess the audience, just to remind you, a whole bunch of HR practitioners listening, looking for practical tools, tips, techniques around whatever we discuss. And I'm just finding myself in these conversations around talent pool. And I guess, let's start with unpacking why would companies want to create talent pools?
Yeah, so I think for me, you want like people on the bench, basically.
Yes.
You want people on the bench so that when something happens within your existing company or with your existing the humans that you have, that you've got the ability to bring in good people fast.
Yes.
Because the opportunity costs of having a seat open or the time taken can be very frustrating for productivity and business. And then the seeking out of good talent is exhausting and often quite soul-destroying. And so if you have good people that you've already identified and that you have a relationship with, it just speeds everything up and makes it a lot more pleasant for everyone. And for me, it's a fantasy. Because the idea is somehow that you create a pool and then everyone stays where you put them.
Yes.
And in my experience, that is not how humans work. Humans have their own ideas about where they want to be. So, for me, it's more just how do you build relationships with the kinds of people that you want in your organization.
I love three things that you said. Firstly, this idea that I'm going to find good people that I'm not going to hire right now. They are going to be interested to come and sit on the bench and then stay there. And I mean, we both don't mean any of this with disrespect, but I think it's important for us to potentially talk about this mystery and then what are better ways or effective ways to actually then start doing this. And I often think there's a close correlation between marketing principles around lead generation or warming leads up in the B2C space and then hiring for talent.
Yeah. So that's absolutely how I see it. Because what you need, it's exactly like sales. You need the long play, which sets up the environment, and then you need the short play, which is closing.
Yes.
And the long play in marketing is brand building. So how do you build up a perception and an understanding and a felt emotional connection with the brand? And then how do you drop in the kind of a very effective demo this, press this button, send me your email address. Like, how do you do that? And you need both. You can't do one without the other, in my experience.
Yeah.
And I think with people, it's exactly the same. How do you within your target market of talent, how do you make sure they understand you, understand what you offer, understand what you can do for their careers, so that when you are looking and they are looking at the same time, there's an opportunity to bring them into the business. But you need both. If you're just doing one, you're constantly coming off a zero base. Who are you? What do you mean? I don't know you. I don't know anyone who works with you. I've never heard of your CEO. Doesn't help. So, yeah, it's like, what is the 3-year strategy, and then what is the 3-week strategy?
Yes.
All the time.
Play those
looking
both.
At them both. Yeah.
You mentioned something that reminds me of a buying cycle.
Yeah.
And if you think, from moving away from the marketing side to the talent pool creation side, it's like, how do I, let's call it the talent pool cycle, or the convincing cycle, or the awareness cycle. Like, how do I get talent into that cycle and then do both, the long play and the short play?
Yeah, as you were saying, buying cycle, I can't remember all the C's, but there's that consideration phase. There's the pre-buying cycle moments, which I call the "could I be happier" moment in a job.
Yes,
and
not entirely unhappy, but I'll take the call.
Yeah, so I'm not looking, but I'm available.
But we can have coffee.
Yeah. I'm like, why don't you tell me about it? And that's the best time to get talent, because you're not competing with anyone else. You're just competing with the job they have. And they already know why they don't like it. So then you just have to come in with your new shiny job. Whereas if it's a little bit like online dating for me. So if you're one of the profiles and someone is looking, you're competing against the whole internet.
Sure.
Whereas if you just find someone who's not actually quite looking right now and is kind of happily single, or not, then it's just you. There's just one person you're competing with. And I think, so trying to find opportunities to speak to those people when they are available but not looking is really good. I've forgotten the question.
It's fine. No. Okay. It was the buying cycle. But while you were talking, it reminds me, I often see organizations, especially on LinkedIn, and some organizations I really admire and respect, who are constantly putting out the EVP and the brand. And you're not quite sure, are they hiring or are they not? But it's this consistent effort, proactive effort to get the value proposition and the brand and the story and the why and the values out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, at some point you go, geez, they're in my face and I feel like I know this business. I don't work there. But something around the consistency of the message and the story is I think, extremely effective.
Yeah, and I think using all those marketing tools, what are the key messages, what are the proof points, what are the marketing channels, and who am I trying to reach? So when I think about the employee value proposition, the first thing is to have one that isn't like, we pay competitive salaries and you get medical. Like that's a benefit. It's
in
not
the US they weigh dental in as well.
Yeah, very nice. And sometimes leave if your pet is sick, which actually I do think is a better. Yeah, that's amazing. But like, what are we giving in terms of growth? What are we giving in terms of purpose? What are we giving in terms of supporting work-life balance or mental health? You've got to come up with the whole package.
Yes.
And it needs to be authentic with your external business brand and with the way that you are implementing and operationalizing that in the business. And then once you have that, you can work out what the key messages are. What are the most important things for people? So if you're looking at very senior execs, money is not the most important thing. It's a hygiene factor. You have to get it right.
Yes.
But it's not the reason people are going to move. They're going to move for other things. And you need to understand what that is. And then it takes years to get it into the market in a way that can drop your recruitment costs.
Sure. So
we started working on the employee value proposition as a project in about end of 2020.
Just for clarity, when you say we, Skynamo.
Skynamo,
yes.
Sorry. I'm so new at the consulting thing. It's just
perfectly
we now
fine.
Still. And what we saw is it took about 2 years, and then we saw our recruitment fees drop.
Sure.
Because we started to get people responding to the ads and watching what we were doing and then coming to find us. So it is a very, very long play, but it works. Yeah, and it takes that Exactly. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be authentic. It's got to be based on proof.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that if anyone ever speaks to one of your people and they're saying, I saw this, your humans inside the business are confirming it.
Yeah.
And it's a whole strategy. It's not just get a LinkedIn ad and hit the apply now button.
Yeah. I just on the EVP point, I often think about the same with job profiles. Like you see an ad or a JD and you go, okay, what does this really mean? Like, what am I going to do? It's so generic. For some reason, organizations are shy to share what they're going to pay.
Yeah.
And shy to speak about anything past just what, key responsibilities or job objectives. And I think in the EVP, especially with your younger generations, they really deeply care. I mean, the reason why we're in Cape Town is we have our event this evening, and one of the trends I'm going to be speaking about is meaning and purpose. It's in the top 10, and aligning meaning and purpose with the job to increase engagement and job satisfaction. That's the trend. And I think right from the beginning, when you want to create that talent pool, it's like, okay, but what's the why? And then bring that through the EVP into the pool.
Yeah, and I think the job description is such a critical tool because people read job descriptions even if they don't want the job.
Sure.
So it's another kind of quiet way of selling who you are. I think one of the biggest problems we have is that you have people building job descriptions on their own. And I cannot build a job description for a data scientist.
Yeah.
I can come up with
AI research engineer.
Yeah, AI research engineer. I can do something and click a workable link and then come up with 4 things.
Yes.
But I don't understand enough to be able to position it as something that is interesting. And so if your hiring managers are not also engaged with this, it's difficult. Also, I find job descriptions talk about like the how you're going to do the job.
Yeah.
They don't talk about the impact that your job will have on the business or the customer.
That's good.
And that's the difference. So the way I start a job description now is my question to the hiring manager is, if this person joins 12 months' time, what are the 3 things that you want them to do if they have done a good job? What are those outcomes?
What does good look like in a year?
What does good look like in a year? How will I assess you in 1 year?
Yes.
And then that's what we put down. The outcomes of this job in the first 12 months are this. And then immediately everyone knows what the impact is. I also tend to use words like impact. The importance of this job is that you will have an impact on X.
Sure.
And in junior jobs, the impact can be on like the smooth running. On senior jobs, I like to put in stuff around how you will impact our thinking about, so they understand the level of influence they're going to have in the role.
That's good.
And all of that then tells anyone who's reading, one, this business deeply understands what the role is and the importance of it. And there is, in the case of the words I've been using, it's collaborative.
Yes.
It's not hierarchical. Good ideas can come from anywhere. And that stuff is critical.
Sure.
Yeah, the other thing I've started to play with is putting in what do we think is important. So we're a company that values, innovation, growth and learning. Therefore, the qualities we are looking for in everyone we hire is curiosity. And then other things.
Yeah.
But you put in 4 or 5, and then the person gets an idea of the qualities everyone they will be working with exudes, from the office manager all the way up to the CEO.
Yes. What is valued from everybody there, regardless of the job.
We like questions.
Yes.
I know what sort of organization I'm going into.
Yes.
And it becomes, and again, I hope I'm not talking too much.
No.
To remember that there is no perfect EVP, and there is no ultimate good EVP. There's just the one that's going to work for you.
Yes.
So we don't all have to be innovative.
Yes.
We don't all have to be
25 days leave.
Yeah, it's fine. Someone out there wants what you have to offer and will be incredibly happy there. So just be clear about it.
Yeah.
And make sure it's honest.
Sarah, if we get the consideration phase right, right? So now I am interested. What have you seen is a good way to practically get the talent into the pool, one, and then after that we'll discuss what do we do with the pool?
So my experience is in small organizations.
Yes.
I know a lot of your listeners are very big organizations, so what I'm saying may not be relevant. I have a feeling in big organizations the answer is AI, but I don't know that yet. So I find it's about relationships. So we have to develop loose or close relationships with people. And once someone has indicated interest, either they have applied for a job they're not quite right for, so that happens, and there's a really good way to build up a pool. Just because someone's a no doesn't mean they're either a no now or a no for this.
Yes.
But you can still build a relationship. So the candidate experience, regardless of if they get the work or not, is really, really important. And then it's around creating these loose networks. So I work with the hiring managers and then also the people in the teams. Like, who are you talking to? Which events are you going to? Are you doing any speaking? What are their loose affiliations into the domains that they work with? So I'm doing some work at the moment with an AI company, and I'm having to learn, because it's new for me, I'm having to learn what those communities look like and how the affiliations work and what important is. So there, it's all around ethics and how much you've published.
Sure.
Which is new for me. So having to work with a EVP that positions the leaders as ethical, what does that look like? And then how do we talk about that? And then how do I start to access the humans in the business and their networks and helping them build relationships?
Yeah.
So the other idea that it's actually the people ops team that holds the relationships, I think that's, if you're thinking like that, you're missing 80% of the opportunity as well.
I love what you're saying around, okay, so firstly, small and big. It is more difficult to be extremely personal and highly relational if you're trying to build a 1,000 big talent pool versus we're hiring for a CMO and we identify 10 or 7 and it becomes, but I think there are similarities around the intention behind it.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of the size of the group, can we send them a personalized mail once a month? Not one by one, but you make the mail very personal. Can we invite them once a quarter to a rooftop dinner? Can we, whatever, you know, so I think the intention behind we are seeing you, even if it's not exactly Sarah, we are aware that you are there. And so here is something to keep you, because that's the whole point, right? Once we now have your interest, if we can't appoint you immediately, how do we keep the interest and the attention?
Yeah, and that is, again, marketing. What does this person, what is in it for them? What do they deeply care about? And how do you create an identity boundary porous enough for them to feel like us? Because if I just did it now. I use the word we. So Skynamo is one of my clients, but the identity boundary for me is Skynamo is still us. I'm still us.
Yes.
So how do I create enough connection that they become us rather than not us?
Sure.
And that depends on what they care about. How do I help them reach their potential? So in the AI space, it might be around something extravagant, like making sure they get to the Indaba that's happening later this year so they can attend. It's incredibly expensive. So it might be something as extravagant as that, or something as simple as when the team has come back to do a dinner talking about the experiences and the things they learned.
That's cool.
So it needs to be hyper personal, and I think the trouble with the people up space and in marketing often is we go for the generic. We'll invite them for a dinner. We'll send them something fun and interesting on email, and that might not be what they care about.
Yeah.
So you got to figure it out, like what's in it for them, and then how do I get in there and build community? Because this is just community building.
Yeah. Sarah, as you're talking, I'm thinking about the importance to this day still of referrals and how successful referrals are now. It's not scalable, you know, but still a highly successful way to hire someone is via a referral.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's based on trust and accountability. So there's trust. I trust you. So then I trust your referral because you know me, and there's already there's like an embedded culture fit conversation that's happened without us having to say anything. And there's also accountability. You're not going to refer someone who's going to be terrible, and the person who comes in doesn't want to make you look bad.
Yes.
So
there's the immediate expectation of performance.
There's a whole bunch of beautiful stuff that happens, and you haven't even read the CV yet.
Yeah.
So referrals are amazing. And then I was just thinking about what you were saying about who's obsessed with this, and it's really important. And I think when you get into super big organizations, it would be amazing to have someone almost like a partner manager in a channel environment whose primary job is to build a network.
Sure. And
be at the events and talk to people and get to know them. And their job is to be the relationship into the talent pool. Mm. And particularly if you're hyper-domain specific, I think that would be amazing. But for the rest of us who do not have infinite budget and infinite time, I think it's about prioritizing. Yeah. So if your EVP is right, your job descriptions are good, and your people are happy, that's a really good beginning.
Already, yeah.
Just get that right.
Yes.
And then
love that.
And then once you have time and you've got that right, then take the next step, which is how do we start to make it known what we are here for. Who can speak about this well? It might be the CEO. You may have a head of people ops who is really strong in communications. It might be your marketer. Then you work with the marketing team and you figure out how to start expressing this and what it looks like. So, I think these things can feel overwhelming. Yeah. They just start at the beginning. What do we offer?
Get those foundations
Who do we
right.
offer it to? How do we communicate in the basics?
Yeah. Let's land this plane. Let's summarize for the audience.
Right.
Okay. So we started off by saying, figure out what you want to say to whom.
Yes.
And where to find them.
Yeah. And what you want them to do.
And then what you want them to do.
Critically.
Yes.
You want them to what do you want from them now
there
and what do you want from them
There were some golden
later?
nuggets in the wording you used around how you advertise, what you say, what will success look like in the next 12 months?
What is the impact?
What is the impact? What are the characteristics of the team that will be around you? Okay, now we have interest and we need consideration. Okay, there we need the deep relationship building, if it's possible. We need to think outside of the box and not just like my comment, email everybody. Okay, go generic. Don't go generic, go specific. Now bring them in and then keep them interested. Yeah. So maintain stuff. And also remember, people aren't thinking about us all the time. Yes.
So keeping them interested could be once every 6 months.
Yes.
It doesn't
have to be
they're not our
LinkedIn
besties.
every day. No.
They're not our best
WhatsApp
friends.
groups.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, WhatsApp groups work if you've got a community of interest and you're sharing interesting things. I mean, I think that's amazing.
Yes.
But a WhatsApp group so that you can tell them what's happening in the business? No. That nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
So I think it's also to realize what level of engagement people are happy with and what's going to feel like stalking.
Yes. And then a huge part of what we discussed is foundational principles around get your brand right, get your EVP right, know who's owning what when they're saying it, work together, CEO, marketer. If you're a big organization, you have budgets, maybe consider hiring a specialist whose role is talent pool creation, networking, relationship building. And then, I guess the only thing we didn't really cover, which is probably obvious, is now when you're ready, make sure that the experience of the candidate is seamless and fun.
Yeah.
Don't sell something until you actually want to make the hire, and then it's this tedious, horrible 14-step process that takes 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then also if you've been essentially seducing someone for 18 months, they probably don't need to send you their CV.
Yes.
So let's cut through the process. So
just
if
go straight to the video
blind
interview
into your applicant tracking system, then put them through. But just be a bit reasonable about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sarah, any last comments you want to leave the audience? Let's say I want to start tomorrow. I'm inspired by the episode. I want to get this right. My manager just told me we need to build talent pools. Where do we tomorrow?
Start with the employee value proposition so you know what you are telling the talent pool about.
Yes.
And remember, you've got tangible and intangible benefits, and really focus on the growth at the moment, growth in my career, purpose and meaning, as you were saying.
Yes.
Those are critical. How are we meeting those needs? And then the fundamentals of communication strategy. Who am I talking to? What do I want them to do? What do I need to tell them to make them do the thing I want them to
Incredible.
do? And then do the things.
Amazing. Sarah, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. It's awesome seeing you again. Good luck with building your consulting career.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will do episode 3 somewhere in the future.
Great. Thanks so much for the
Amazing.
opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic.